Welcome to Stewart Spotlight Podcast. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Welcome. We're doing this again. This is Stewart Spotlight Live, and my name is William Stewart Jr., and I will be your host this evening. We had some technical difficulty. We had that same problem last week, but the devil is a lie. We're going to get through this one. I hope everyone had a very nice week and getting ready for the weekend and celebrate whatever you're going to celebrate. This week was a little difficult for me. I was kind of down at one point, and I spoke with a couple of people, and they brought me back up, and now I'm okay. So we have a very exciting show this evening. We have Miss Jantell Watkins, who will be, she's the international wellness life relationship coach. Wow, I guess she's going to have a lot to say this evening. Today is the 26th. Would you believe the 26th already of April? This year is passing up really fast. Just a couple of weeks ago was tax day, and a couple of weeks it's going to be Mother's Day. Matter of fact, I have an idea. On the 10th, I'm looking for a mother to celebrate Mother's Day on the 10th. If there's any mothers out there that has the wisdom, the knowledge, and the experience, I want to have you to be on this show on the 10th of May so we can talk about mothers and their duties and roles and grandmothers and things of that nature. So if you're interested, please give me a call at 888-552-1944. Once again, that number is 888-552-1944, and I will definitely get back with you as soon as possible because I'm looking for that one mother. What else is new? My nephew gave me a cup, and it's over that way. I'm going to get it after the break. My nephew gave me a cup, Ryan Marsh. It was really nice. It had the little cup with the microphone on there, and it says Stewart Spotlight. I want to thank you, nephew. Much love to you. I know you're watching. You and your mom is watching, but I just want to throw that little shout out for you. So, with that being said, let's take a little small break, and we're going to come back with our special guest this evening and see what she has to talk about. We'll be right back after this. Hello. My name is William Stewart Jr., President and CEO of Stewart Spotlight. The purpose of this podcast is to showcase individuals like yourself. We all have something to share about our lives. Therefore, I challenge you today. If you went through something, coming out of something, and just want to share your testimony, we would love to hear your story. So please give us a call at 888-552-1944, and one of our producers can make arrangements so you can appear on this podcast, or visit our website, stewartspotlight.com. Because of your experience, it can reach someone who is watching this podcast and make a difference in their lives. And we're back at Stewart Spotlight Live. As I stated before, we have a very exciting guest on this evening. I am so delighted to have her with her experience and wisdom and knowledge. And without further ado, let's welcome Miss Jantell Watkins.
Hello.
I'm sorry, I was laughing about something else. Somebody messing with me in the studio, but that's okay. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing just fine. Thanks for asking. I'm so honored that you had the time. You took the time out of your busy schedule to come on the show to talk about your business, and I have a list of questions to talk about. so, I noticed that you had took the coaching training at Portland, Oregon. It's an online course. Can you
Yes.
elaborate about that a little bit?
Yep. So after, well, during COVID, like the rest of America, I was online making videos and decided that started getting people inboxing me asking me questions. And I was like, okay, I want something behind this. So I started researching schools and came across Coach Training EDU. And the young man in the admissions office who was, I guess, assigned to me was absolutely amazing. His name was Matthew. And for every excuse I gave him on why I couldn't do it, he gave
That's
me a reason and a solution to why I couldn't
you
do it.
could.
And that's how I ended up there.
That's good. That's good. I'm glad. So now I'm gonna start into my questions, if you don't mind.
Sure.
So, what made you start this venture and why?
Um, well, I've always been fascinated with relationships.
Hmm.
Um, from college, I attended Georgia State University. All of my favorite classes were psychology, and they all had to do with relationships. And in 2013, I actually started, my mom gave me permission to come home, live with her for a year, and try to get my business off the ground. And at the time, what I was doing was I was planning date nights for couples.
Hmm.
So in that, I did all of the footwork. All they had to do was show up and enjoy. And so I did that for a little while, loved it. Then again, moved to Cleveland, started a whole new life, came back to Georgia, and I could not find a job. I was either overqualified or underqualified. Like
Wow.
Dollar Tree wouldn't even hire me, and I just
Wow.
wanted to pay my car note. Um, so I battled with depression. And so
Okay.
my husband was like, well, him and my mom stopped sending resumes, getting all of the rejection emails. Um, and so he was like, well, start your business back. And so I'm like, all right, cool. We sat down, we made all of these plans. And then COVID hit. And it was like, we didn't want to be in nobody's house. Didn't nobody want us in their house. So it was like, what do I do now? And so I started doing the videos online, trying to teach people how not to strangle their significant other and their kids because everybody was at home. And in the process of doing that, people started asking questions, and I was like, "Oh, this is kind of cool. I like this."
So when you have your sessions with
Mhm.
individuals, how long are the sessions?
Sessions can go anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour.
So within that 30 minutes to an hour, so is there a certain amount of sessions you have to have, or you just go by as many times as they want to come?
I encourage that we start with six
Mm,
and
okay.
see where we get in six. And then at the end of that sixth session, I kind of do like a pulse check. How are you doing? How do you feel about where we are? Do you feel like you can handle things at this point on your own, or would you like to, continue and go further? And I give them that option to make the choice on if they want to go past six or if six is enough.
Okay, so are these sessions confidential?
Oh,
Oh,
absolutely.
I'm just, I have to ask.
Absolutely.
Okay. So a person come to your session. Do they come to you? Did you go to them? How did you guys meet?
Well, right now, I do everything online for that reason of confidentiality.
Okay.
I don't have a space where I can talk comfortably out in public.
Hmm.
Um, my goal is to have my own brick and mortar at some point, so y'all keep that in your prayers for me.
Yes.
So right now, I do everything online because I have an office where I can close my door and just have a conversation, a confidential one between me and the client.
Okay. So now, once they finish the six sessions, and do they get a certificate or a graduation diploma, or what do they get?
But because I'm extra, they do get a certificate. There's something cute that I put together to show them that, they completed it. They
Uh-huh.
were successful at whatever goal it was that they were trying to accomplish.
Okay. So now, have you ever had any dissatisfying clients?
Up until this point, praise God, I have not.
Oh, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. Now you
I've
also,
gotten great testimonies.
yes, I see that. You also mentioned your husband. Now, who is your husband?
I am married to the infamous
Oh gosh.
international
Oh my
saxophonist
gosh.
himself,
Don't
Jantell Watkins.
don't make his hair grow bigger than what it is.
Hey, I have to be his number one fan. He's
I
a saxophone player.
I know
My
that.
life is a struggle.
So your life is a struggle.
Yes.
Okay, well that's good. So, okay, now let's get into the meat. He must be saying something because you're laughing.
Uh-huh.
Let's get into the meat of this relationship coach, because you have identified five. You have your friendship, you have your
Mhm.
relationship, you have your parent-child, you have your
Mhm.
romance. I'm really looking to get into that one, and the professional work.
Yes.
So let's indulge into this friendship coaching. What are some of the common challenges that people seek in friendship coaching?
Um, One of the biggest things that we talk about is the one-sidedness in some friendships. You get to a certain age and we realize that this friendship isn't exactly what we thought it was,
Mm-hmm.
or something comes into play and they start to question if it really, excuse me, is a friendship. And
Okay.
so at that point, I kind of coach them around, what do you want to do with this? Let's examine the friendship together. I hear them out. I try to create a safe space where everyone feels comfortable to discuss, what's really on their heart and their mind. And then once we decide what they want to do with it, how do we accomplish those next goals? Is it a conversation that you need to have with your friend? Do you need to put some boundaries in place? Do you need to grieve the
Mm-hmm.
relationship if you decide that you want to end it? Because grief is not just death, but it's anything that has ended has a grieving process.
Oh, wow.
So I help you figure that out.
Okay. So can friendship coaching be beneficial for individuals looking to enhance their social connection?
Yes, yep, we can help with that too. So the program that I went through, CTEDU, after I got my certification, the owner of the company actually hired me to create and teach the
Okay.
relationship program.
Okay.
And so in that, in the midst of doing research and learning more, because in the beginning I was just really focused on romantic relationships. I wasn't really into any other type of relationship. But the more research I did, all relationships started to fascinate me. So when it comes to enhancing the social, one of the things that we teach our coaches is how to help clients not be wildflowers, if that makes sense. So
Yeah.
some of the things, one of the biggest things that we do is we role play. What would it be like if we were in this situation? Let's sit down and talk, have conversations as if we were just meeting. What are some topics that you could discuss with other people that you are confident in speaking on, so that it comes off that way and you don't feel like you're just blabbering, if that makes sense?
So now in the friendship relationship, so it's a one-on-one. It's not a couple, or is it a couple? Um,
So far, all I've had is one-on-ones, but I
okay.
would be more than happy to coach two friends if they wanted that. Yeah.
Okay. What are some of the practical tips for individuals can implement on their own to improve their own friendship?
Um, One is to be honest about where you are.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times people assume that this is what's going on with your life, or maybe you didn't share that, so they didn't know what was going on, and they think that you're just being antisocial when you're really dealing with some things.
Hmm.
So if it's supposed to be a friend, be honest about where you are and what you can give in this season of your life.
Okay,
Go ahead.
because you know when you talk about friends or friendship, people take that into just throwing it out there. Oh, he's my friend, but they don't really know the meaning of friendship, because friendships are it's deep, and people take for granted just say, oh, he's my friend, but don't really know the meaning.
I agree. And then there's also categories of friends.
Oh, okay.
You
Break
know,
it down
I
for me.
have I have friends that I don't party too much anymore, but there's a group that I know if I want to have a good time and I just want to go out and not talk about
Okay.
anything personal or anything too heavy, I can call on this group and we're going to do just
Okay.
that.
Okay.
Then I have that best friend that knows all my deepest, darkest secrets, right? Then I have friends that, which is new for me in my life coming of age, like I have friends that I can call to pray with me. Or I could just send a text message and be like, hey, I'm going through it. Can you pray? No questions asked. Yes, ma'am, I got you.
Okay.
So there's different categories of friends. And I think sometimes we expect one person to be all things and one person can't be all things.
Oh, wow. So what is considered a best friend?
Well, to me, I think that's everybody's definition is different. So for me, a best friend is someone that I could do all those things with. I could tell her my deepest, darkest secrets. I can call her my best friend. I could call her right now, and she can come over here and she can read me. So she could tell, she could tell if we're gonna have a long conversation. She could tell if something's wrong. She could tell if it's one of the moments that we just gonna sit back and watch TV and eat ice cream. Like she knows.
Okay.
She celebrates my good, bad, and ugly with me.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Okay, now let's talk about relationships. Hey. Okay, so how does a relationship coaching different from the traditional couples therapy or counseling?
So therapy and counseling deals with your trauma. I like to say that they take you from the past and bring you to neutral. So they help you get over all that hurt. They help you heal. They help you get to a place where you can start to function. And then coaching, I feels like takes you from neutral to future. So now that you've done all of the healing, now that you have the tools that you need to do forward, it's my job to help you move forward. So what does moving forward look like for you? How do we set that up for you?
So therefore, are you saying that they should go through therapy or counseling before they go to coaching?
Not all the time. And I say that because some people don't realize that they need therapy. So I've had clients who come to me and in the beginning, I thought it was something wrong with me and my services because I'm like, I can't seem to get through to these people. This doesn't seem to be working. But I realized the longer I started doing it, and then the more research and more seasoned coaches that I had talked to, it's not that you don't know what you're doing. It's just not your field. It's not my job as a coach to get you through your trauma. That's a therapist's job. So you can come to me, never have been to a therapist, and we can talk. I'm not going to run from the emotions, and I'm not going to, push you off and say, oh no, I can't help you. The way I like to do it is let's invite a therapist into our relationship. And what does that look like? Inviting them here. I'm not getting rid of you if you want to stay with me, but we need someone that can help you heal and get through this trauma that you're still doing.
I never thought about that one. Having both into one and bouncing back and forth. That's pretty good. My last question on this one is, how do relationships coach approach issues relating to trust, boundaries, and building mutual respect?
Oh, I love that. Well, communication is the basis of everything. So one, both parties have to be willing to communicate. And then two, both parties have to be grown up enough to take responsibility for the part that they play in the relationship. So when I teach other new coaches how to be relationship coaches, I express to them that if you have a client that wants to stay in victim land, your services as a relationship coach is not going to go anywhere. Because you can't be victim all the time.
Okay.
right? It had to have been, you played a part, whether you realized it or not, whether you were defensive all the time, whether you were stonewalling, whether you were comparing your relationship to someone else's, like you played a part. So, in order to get to boundaries, in order to get to mutual respect, in order to get to trust, you have to be willing to see what part you played in the issue that you're having in your relationship. Once you're willing to do that and accept ownership, then we can start to move into all of those other wonderful things that need to be in
So
place.
basically, it's just a building block. You have to do this before you do this, before you do this, and then all of it come together.
Yes, sir.
I know a little bit about that. Just want you to know.
I see. I see.
I did my homework. Okay, let's go on this other topic. Parent-child.
Yes.
Oh, that's. What are some of the effect strategies that parent-child use to strengthen the parent-child bond to improve communication within the families?
So one of the things that you have to do is you have to be willing to take on perspectives, right? Our way is not always the only way or the best way. And I think a lot of times as parents, we don't look at children as having feelings. We don't look at them as knowing what they want or what they need. And that's not all the time true. Now, granted, you have to have parameters as a parent, and I'm not saying to be your child's friend per se, but your child has a voice and they have a right to be heard. And in that parent-child dynamic, you have to learn how to take on that perspective of this child. If this child is just all of a sudden started acting out and you know this is not their normal behavior, let's kind of sit back and look at the different things that have taken place up until this moment.
Okay. Okay. My last question on this one, because we're getting short of time, but I'm really enjoying this. It's just so intriguing. What role does empathy plays in the parent-child coaching, and how can coaching help parents develop greater empathy toward their child or toward their children?
That's a good question. So empathy is plays a major role, I think, in just being human, period. Well, being a kind human. You have to be empathetic. And I think a lot of people feel like being having empathy is natural, but it's not. It's a muscle that you have to develop, that you have to keep strong, and that you have to be willing to work at. So there's different books that you can read about empathy. There's videos that you can watch for empathy. But just really taking a step back and putting yourself in someone else's shoes and what that really feels like to do that. We have one of the examples when we're trying to teach empathy is we do this activity where whoever's bold enough to volunteer has to answer questions of what it's like to be the trainer. So I would ask them, what do you think it's like to be me? What is my day to day? What's the first thing on my mind when I wake up in the morning? What is my biggest fear every day? And then you take it from there and you go into, okay, now how did it feel to assume those things? And then from there, how can you take what you learned and use it towards the relationship, let's say, with your child? If you were to really put yourself in their shoes, what do you think is the first thing on their mind when they wake up in the morning? What do you think their biggest fear is every day? It helps you become more empathetic with people when you stop looking at them as if you know everything or that you have the upper hand, and just really take a moment to see what it might be like to be them.
So basically, you have to really open yourself up and try to get into their head to try to feel what they think and how they feel to get that bond, that parent-child bonding relationship.
Yeah.
Okay. If you just stay around for a moment, let's take a little break right quick, and we'll be right back with Miss Jantell. Hold on one moment.
All right.
we're back with Miss Jantell on talking about relationship, the 5 different topics. So now I have a topic right here, romance. Let's talk about romance. How many romance coaching help individuals who have experienced past relationship trauma or heartbreak to heal?
Well, I feel like once you go through, and this is a situation where I really feel like therapy comes into place.
Mm-hmm.
Once you go through therapy, whether you work with a therapist one-on-one or the 3 of us work together, is when I can start to help you move you in the direction of healing. So once you know what your triggers are and what that looks like, how to recognize it, how to express to the next person that you want to be with, these are my triggers. This is where things get tricky for us, right?
Mm-hmm.
Once you can identify those things, then I can teach you how to express those things. I can teach you how to recognize them, and then how to not only express it, but how to deal with it yourself before it gets out of control.
Well, sometimes it's out of control before you can deal with it. So how do you address that, or how do you deal with something of that nature?
So one of the things that I think you do is, again, sometimes as a coach, I play mediator, right? So if both people are coming to me together, let's put all the cards on the table. Let's talk about it. Let's get everything out now.
Okay.
And then let's talk about how we want to move past that. How do we move forward? And a lot of times we tend to want to have conversations in the midst or the heat of the anger, and that's not always a good thing.
Yes.
So I used to be a sole believer of, oh my God, when I get married, I'm never going to bed. Angry, will never go to sleep mad. That is
it doesn't
so
work.
untrue.
So you go sleep on the couch and shut your bedroom door at that, huh?
But what I've learned is that it's okay to take a step back and take a moment to breathe.
Okay.
What we have to do is, as partners, we have to decide how much time is okay. Is 5 minutes okay for maybe me to go take a walk, or you to go, in John's case, play your horn? What do we need to do to get the anger out so we can sit back and we can talk like adults that actually love each other?
But you won't hold no grudge for days. You try to talk. You try to squash it right then within that day, or do you let it linger?
Yes. I personally feel like it should be a same day in your parameters.
Right. Yes.
Right. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, an hour, but it has to be agreed upon by both people. So then you have to compromise. Maybe I want an hour. Maybe John only wants 10 minutes. It's not going to work that way. So where can we meet in the middle?
Okay.
And then when we have those moments, respect each other's space so that you can breathe, and then come back and talk about it. I always tell couples, like, you have to talk about how you're going to argue.
Wow.
It's some things that's okay and not okay. I didn't grow up in a household where there was a lot of yelling or cursing. My favorite line I used to use in relationships was, my daddy didn't yell at me, so you ain't going to yell at me, type deal. So we had to sit down between John's past and my past. We had to figure out, okay, what works for us when it comes to arguing. If voices get too elevated, I will shut down. If you don't want me to shut down, then we need to figure out, how we're going to do this. So I'll tell him, I was like, your voice is getting a little too loud for me. My bad. I didn't mean to. I'm all in you expressing yourself, but I think it's a respectful way to do it. And as couples, you need to sit down and figure out what that looks like for each other.
Well, that's good, because that's a segue right into my next question. Are there any specific exercise or activities that romance coach recommend to ignite passion and intimacy in a long-term relationship?
Yep. So I am a strong believer in date nights. You have to have them. I suggest to my couples, and I have a private Facebook group for couples. I always tell them in there, like, have the traditional sense of a nightcap.
Okay.
When you have that nightcap, you can't talk about bills, you can't talk about chores, you can't talk about children,
Right.
you can't talk about work.
Right.
What hobbies are you into now? What's interesting you? What's something you want to try? Tell me something good that happened to you this week. What are you grateful for?
Okay.
So having those conversations that don't pertain to things that you have to talk about on a daily basis. And taking turns. I don't think it should always be the male's job to plan a date. We're both in this relationship. What's wrong with me planning one? And I also feel like sometimes it could be an impromptu at-home date. It doesn't always have to be outside the house. So anything that you could do, play board games together, play cards. Remember what it was like when you all first started dating. And keep that in the forefront. Tyler Perry talked about in an interview how the person who was interviewing him was talking about all of these pictures that they had around the house. He had around his house. And he was like, he does that because he wants to remember the good times. So when they get in those moments of arguing, frustration, being upset, he could look at these pictures and realize that what they're going through is just a moment, just like those pictures were a moment. And it reminds him of the happy place. So me and John has this thing now. That's what we collect when we go to different states. We collect picture frames. We take a picture. We put it in that picture frame and we put it up around the house. So when we have those moments where it's like, okay, we both getting on each other's nerves, we have those pictures to remind us that this is just a moment too.
Okay. You know, date night for me, take me to an island somewhere, you know. That's my date night.
Well, that's the 2x2x2 rule.
Oh, okay, the 2x2
You ever heard of that?
Oh, I heard. Yes, I have. Yes, I'm gonna leave that one alone. And the last topic, professional at work.
Yes.
How does professional coaching different from the mentorship and consulting? What unique skills or approaches does coaching bring to the table for work, professional at work?
So we talk a lot about the goals that you want to have, and when it comes to the relationship coach in in a professional setting.
Okay.
We deal with the relationship. So like if you're a team leader, a supervisor, or a manager, what things can you do to have a real connection with your employees? What does that look like for you? How can you show gratitude? There's a 5 love languages for the work environment. Do you take the time to learn your staff's love language and speak that to them when they're there? We talk about empathy a lot, just, with the whole exercise. If you have an employee that has had perfect attendance for the last 2 years and all of a sudden they're constantly late, take a step back and think about, okay, what could be going on in their life? They've never been late for 2 whole years and all of a sudden something's different. So instead of going straight to write up, let's take a moment, sit them down, and let's have a real heart-to-heart conversation. I noticed that your performance isn't what it used to be. Is there anything that's going on that maybe I could help you with, that I could better support you in, so that you can get back to where you were, instead of just calling them in the office, yelling at them, writing them up? We all have lives. Life is always life.
Yeah, especially in the work environment, because it can be very devastating at times, because the politics in office and the he say, she sayers and things of that nature. So it can be very difficult. Well, Ms. Jantell, I just really appreciate it. Out of the 5 categories, what percentage do you get the most clients? Is it friendship, relationship, parent-child, romance, or professional?
Romance.
I like that.
Yep,
So you get a lot of percentage. Okay, well, I appreciate that. So I really appreciate you coming on. Sorry for the little hiccup this evening, but we managed to get through with that, and I know I can hear John in my ear. I know he's going to play something before we get off this air this evening, right, John?
Yep. Here he comes.
All right. We're about to hear from a saxophone player. And Is he going to be on camera? Is he going to be off camera, or what he's going to do?
He's going to be on camera.
Ah, okay. All right.
Here he comes. I'm gonna let him take my seat.
All right.
Thank you so much.
No, thank you. I want to come back. I want to make sure I come back with you one day, and we can follow up with some of the things that you've been going through, and give us some exciting gossip.
I would love that. I would love that.
I'm gonna hold you. I'm gonna hold you.
No names attached.
No names attached. I'm gonna hold you to that. Thank you. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Ready, babe?
Tell John. Okay. Tell John this is only a 30-minute show.
Yeah. I'm here, big bro.
John.
Hey.
How are you?
I'm doing great. How you doing?
I'm doing just fine. I'm so honored, and thank you for coming on and just playing a little song for us right quick as we exit out, so we can get off and go on to another segment of this episode.
Did you hear it soon? Can you hear it okay?
Yes. John, you're going in and out. John. You're going in and out, but we have a concept. I appreciate it very much. I'm gonna come back. I'm gonna have you back on the show so you can play something with the sounds perfect, okay?
Huh?
I said I'm gonna have you back on the show so you can play something very, very unique.
Okay.
I'm gonna hold you to that too. All right, John.
All right, let me know when you're ready.
I sure will. I appreciate the time.
Thank you.
All right, bye. All right. Well, we heard it there. That was a very interesting subject about relationships and the 5 different topics: friendship, relationship, parent, romance, and work. Also, if you need to get in contact with her, here's a little information for you. You can get in contact with Miss Jantell Watkins at the Romantic Expression, and her phone number is 470-806-5767. Just give her a call, and maybe you can set up some kind of arrangement to talk about either one of those topics. Well, last week we had a winner for the trivia question. And the trivia question was, who was the inventor of the light bulb? The answer was Thomas Edison. And I hate to tell you, this is nothing, no rig, for my niece, LaQuinta Dunlap, won this t-shirt. Hey, it's not rigged, but she was the first one who sent in the correct answer. I'm so sorry. I try to be fair, but she was the first one. But now you know it's time for... Now it's time for Stewart Trivia. The first person to call me, I couldn't even get that right out. The first person to call me at 888-552-1944 will win. Now, I got a new t-shirt commercial. I want y'all to listen to this one now. You will win this. Oops. It was working, but now it's not working. But you will win a Stewart Spotlight t-shirt. I'm just so through right now. I just want to just throw something, but unfortunately I can't throw something. But anyway, the question is, what is the largest mammal on Earth? Give us the correct answer and you will win a Stewart Spotlight t-shirt. And you will be announced next week on this episode. Okay, next week, I have a special guest, Preston McKenzie. He will be on the show next week, and this young man has a story to share. A person who had 5 strokes and a heart attack. And he wants to come on to talk about it. And the subject would be healing hands. And please tune in for that next week. Okay, now it is time for Lee.
Can imagine dealing with the 5 points of relationships. But one thing we got to understand, Brother Stewart, we must understand that no relationship is a perfect relationship, and the only perfect relationship is the relationship that we have with God. God will move in such a way where your relationship will move just like God would have it to move. But many of us have to learn how to follow God. Sometimes we can go through counseling, we can go through therapy, but if we don't go through the process of understanding that it's Him that has made us and we not ourselves, nothing or no relationship will never work. For the Lord is my shepherd, and I shall not want. Brother Stewart, back to you.
Lee Jones. Good message. We missed you last week due to the fact of some technical audio sounds, but I really appreciate you coming back again, as usual, all the time, and I'm expecting to see you again next week.
It is such a pleasure to be here to give a word of encouragement to the people that is spotlighted from you.
Amen. I'll take you up on that one.
Bless you.
I'll see you next week.
Yes, sir.
All right.
See you.
Well, that concludes this program this evening. I want to thank everyone for their participation coming on, and those viewers who's looking at Stewart Spotlight and being patient with us because we had some problems, but we're on correctly right now. I'll always want you to remember, it's not about me. It's all about you. Let go of what you can't control. Focus on what you can. Until next week, you have a nice weekend and good night.